So you're at the closing table and you get handed this little piece of paper saying, here's your closing costs, and your head explodes. Oh my God, what the heck is this number? This video is going to address that. And it's going to show you what those closing costs are so you can not be shocked when you get there. Hello, hello, hello. Juan Rodriguez here, your Florida home coach. Today we're in a little bit of darkness, somewhere in blue, because this is kind of a blue topic. You know, in the dark, most people are about closing costs. Well, my goal is to make it clear as day what it entitles, and I'll break it down line item by line item. I'm going to give you what is called a buyer's net sheet. This is something you should get from your realtor. And it should give you a ballpark of what it would be per home. So this way you know what you're looking into, or you're looking at, should I say. Okay, let's get this show on the road. Boom, boom, boom. A seller's net sheet. Now, this is just a little basic net sheet. It tells based on the price of the home, $350,000, what your closing costs are going to be. $43,833. Yeah. Remember how we had it in the first video about 45,000 and 54,000, blah, blah, blah. We're basing this on a purchase price of 350. Okay. You might say, oh my God, where am I going to get $43,000? One, you'd said you can get that with just the writing on a paper or a couple of thousand out of my pocket. This video covers all these costs so you know where they come from. It isn't magic, it isn't mystical, it isn't they don't like me, so they're going to charge me more. Okay? I'm going to break each of these down. So let's get started. So let's go with the first group. This part here where it says taxes and government fees. Because Uncle Sam takes her hand out. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so let's unhide the mystery there. And wow. Okay? And if you think about it, it ain't that much. The deed recording, the county charges 10 bucks. Back to my title company. I keep saying that. It's not mine. Back to the title company I use. They only charge, if you notice these asterisks, they made me put this in there because those are the items that they don't mark up. Other title companies do. They don't. Okay, so $10 for deed recording. The mortgage recording is based on the mortgage amount. So depending on what kind of mortgage you get, how much of it, that's what that comes out to. Doc stamps. This is their sales tax. And again, it's based on the property amount that you bought for. Intangible taxes. Again, it's part of that and related to this. So that fluctuates up and down. The tax proration. You know how we every year, well, you don't know, but you will know, is every year you're going to pay a real estate tax for living on the property, if you will, or the land or the county. It's how the county and some cities pay for the services we get. So when we call 911 or if there's a fire or the police and things like that, this is how they collect it. And it is prorated because it will start from the day you take it to the end of the year. And on this example, we were doing August, end of August. So basically September 1st, end of year, you'll be responsible for that. From that closing date to the beginning of the year, that's the other side. The seller's responsible for that. Okay? And in this example, if I remember correctly, the taxes were about $5,000 for for ad valorem, and non-ad valorem was like 600 bucks. This is the proration of that. So government fees, $3,700. Now, what's next? Title fees. You know, these people that actually do the work to secure your property that nobody takes. You notice how little it is? Okay, they charge the title endorsement. It is again an insurance basically that says we've looked through this and this property should be unequivocally yours. The closing service fee for the person to actually um, close with you in the room, signing the papers, explaining everything. A lender's title policy. What's that? Well, the lender is giving you money, but they require that you give them an assurance that nobody's going to take this property and they're not going to lose their collateral. Well, that is an insurance policy, and it's typically a lot less than the owner's title policy, which you see blank here. I'll explain that in a minute. So this title company charges $250, but I've seen it $500-600 from other title companies. So be careful. Can you shop around? Yes. More of that later. Technology fee to keep it in the cloud forever for you in a secure vault. So it kind of ain't bad. One time, not monthly, not annually. That's it. The owner's title policy is a policy that the seller provides to you saying nobody can take this house away from you based on the title company's work and background checks and digging in and everything. They're guaranteeing that if somebody knocks on the door, dun, 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 says, hey, that house is mine, and they come out with something that proves it that was 5 years ago, whatever, this insurance policy kicks in, they defend it, they fight it, and if it ends up being true, they pay back all the money to you and to the lender. Everybody's clean. Okay? That's what the owner's title policy is. And again, paid by the seller, not you. Although some people try to stick that in there. Okay, the next group, and we covered this in the last video, is the in-contract expenses. And here's a breakdown. An HOA condo fee. That's because sometimes, depending if you're buying in an HOA, they require what they call an estoppel to get a balance of records, and they want a deposit on your side. That's what that would be. Survey, we spoke about the survey, a land survey to know what your property boundaries are, so you know where your fence lies, where this and the other. Inspections, I kept it at $500. It's a typical home inspection. We didn't go into anything like WDO, wood destroying organisms like termites and the like. We didn't go into we didn't do that because that would raise this up, and every person is different. Okay, since we didn't find any termites, we'll jump right down to the earnest money deposit. This is that deposit, again, that you put on the table, says, I'm serious, 1%. And I'm keeping it at 1% for now. All right, so total in contract expenses, $4,812. Now, remember, $3,500 of it slides to the bottom for your down payment. So it becomes, like I said, part of your closing costs, but that was already there. Okay. Other fees. Oh my God, there are other fees. Yes, there are other fees. And this one's going to scare you. Dun, 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 dun. You see a lot of it. Okay. First thing, your down payment. Remember, 3.5%, we're using the FHA example, is $12,250. Okay, now Uncle Sam charges a fee, that 1.75% to back you up, saying, hey, we're going to back up this loan. That's good because in case something happens, at least the lender gets their money back and you at least will not have to go through a lot of pains. All right, appraisal. Direct charge from the lender. Title company doesn't mark it up, and typical runs around $515 and up. Estimated lender fees. Again, this is estimated because every lender is different. They charge differently. But for the most part, this is a good average. Loan origination fees. That's another little lender tack on. Some of them charge it, some of them don't. You need to talk to your lender about this. Credit reporting fee. They got to pay to get your credit report. Some charge, some don't. Now, homeowners insurance. This, unfortunately, is your homeowners insurance. You have to pay upfront 1 year, and then you're putting money every month into an escrow account so that at time for renewal, the money is there, you pay it, or if the bank pays it in this case, if you're using escrow. All right, flood insurance, if you're in the flood zone, gotta get it. Right now, you don't, but it would be additive. Escrows. Now, escrows break down again into the daily insurance amounts. It will be breaking down into any insurance proration amounts. It will be anything interest on the day of money to the first mortgage payment. That interim interest will be in there. As you can see, $58 is there. Okay, so this is about a ballpark average. Now, the dreaded buyer's agent commission. Your agent that worked hard, answered your calls at all hours of the night, held your hand, patted your back, everything's going to be okay, and then made sure they did research on the property so you don't get screwed, and then did all the contract, did all the negotiations, followed up, make sure everything was being done on time so you don't lose your money, all that. There's the amount. And I'm using right now again, it's 3% commission, okay? Every agent charges differently. So total other fees, big chunk, $34,000. Holy cow. You add it all up, it's $43,833. Mind you, and that's with 3.5% down. So you're saying, what the hell, Juan? You said sign on the dotted line. You said a few thousand, whatever. How the heck does that happen? Glad you asked. Okay, let's talk about what Juan can do and other agents should do. I'm going to go here and show you what we can get. All right, so the seller's paid commission. Now, remember we were saying 10,500, 3% of 350,000. Let's say, at least what I do, I negotiate with the seller to have them pay me. And whatever they pay me, I discount from my buyer. So let's say they only gave me 2.5%, not the full 3%. That's $8,750. Okay. Now, from there, we're going to go ahead and say seller concession. And what is seller concession? Well, seller concession is whatever we negotiate as your buyer's agent with you driving it to ask the seller to help with. Anything with down payment, to help with closing costs and prepays, etc. And that could be negotiated based on the offer you made. So, for example, I'm going to use a $5,000 seller concession. Seller's nice enough to give us $5,000 towards closing costs. Now, the big one, down payment assistance, DPA. The grants that you might get, or any other type of programs that are out there. And this is really important because there are programs for those that are first-time home buyers and those that are not. So if you need assistance for your closing costs, there are programs. I'm going to use the average. You start with 10 grand, it can go up to 65,000, but I'm just going to use the Hometown Heroes example where they give you 5%. So 5% of that is $17,500. Okay. Now, lender credit. What's that? Well, the lender could pitch in too. They may have specials going on in where they, they don't charge you the appraisal fee or something, or they might give an average of probably $1,000. So I'm going to put 1,000. A super nice lender. Like my lenders. My lenders is really nice. So at the end of the day, remember that 43,800 and change? Wow, what happened? It's 11,000. That ain't bad. Okay. All right, Juan. Now I could breathe a little bit. Let me get off the floor kind of mess. So you see how important the right realtor in your, on your side can help you, because you can negotiate the paid commissions. That's a big chunk. You can negotiate seller concessions. And this I put a little number. It could be more. Okay. They can negotiate and get you into the different down payment assistance programs. That's a big chunk. And obviously, partnering with the right lender can help too. Now, in addition to that, what's in the background that you didn't see so much is the title company. Their fees were lowered because, again, I'm using, the title company. Thanks to All Real Estate Title, I have to give them a shout out. They're in Bush Boulevard in Tampa and in Lutz, right by the actually the outlet malls in that corner. Okay, so shout out to them. Now, with that, now buying a home becomes a little bit more reasonable. You have a home, you paid $11,000 out of your pocket, a lot better. And obviously, let's say they did pay the whole $10,500, because you made a good offer, and they were able to do that, and they jumped to $7,500 in concessions because there was some things that you needed done, fixed, or whatever, and we needed to negotiate that, and you qualified for a little better, down payment assistance. But even if you didn't, look at now you're at 7,000. It's a big difference, folks, from 43,000. But you see, that's what's available. So don't get afraid, but this is all the pieces that come into your closing costs. And again, what I do, and then you should ask your realtor to do this, when you're looking at a house and man, I love it, man, what's my payment going to be? That's the first question people ask. Okay, that's just a mortgage payment. You need to ask what's going to be all my costs involved. Ask your lender for that, for the payment side. Ask your realtor for what they call a buyer's net sheet. This way you can understand all the moving pieces in there. In my case, I break it down into, the title, the in-contract expenses, so you know what it comes out to from a cash flow standpoint, and then at the end, how all of that is part of your closing costs. And obviously, being able to negotiate all these other credits, that's critical. That can make or break your deals. Okay, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, put a comment below, share it, let people know, have them come to the channel. Like I said, I put videos like this every week. All right, folks, Juan Rodriguez, your Florida home coach, helping you build wealth through real estate. Later.